For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. As we move into our time of meditation, I invite you to take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, let go. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, move from the outer to the inner. Begin to shift your awareness from what is happening in the outer world to your own physical being. Take one more deep breath in. And as you exhale this time, move your awareness from your head down into your heart. And begin to open. Open your heart. Open your mind. Open your very being. As you open, prepare to receive. Receive from that which we call God or Spirit or Source. Receive the light. Receive love. And know the truth. The truth that you are one with God. You are not separate in spite of perceptions or awareness or experience. You are one with all that is. Allow your being and your consciousness to expand into the oneness, embracing all of your humanity and expanding into love and light. As we come to know our oneness with ourself and with God, we come to know our oneness with other people. Those we love, those we know, those we don't know, and those we struggle with. We are one humanity, one body of living, breathing beings. In our oneness, we know that love is the foundation of our being. That love is the answer, that love is the way. So feel that current of love as your very life force moving in and through your being. Moving in and through this room, this ministry. And feel that same love as life force moving in and through our world. There is but one love that encompasses all. You are part of that oneness. feel and know the truth that you are love, that you are loved, that we together are love. And we together are loved and loving and kind. That you are whole. Allow yourself to be filled with the oneness of love. Let it permeate and penetrate and fill the inner spaces of your being. Let it fill your mind, creating space in your mental world. Let it fill your emotions, allowing all emotions and yet encompassing as love. And know this truth for yourself. I am love. I am kind. I am whole. I am one. And know this, for humanity, we are love. We are kind. We are whole. And we are one. It is into this expanded place of oneness that we bring any prayer requests we might have for yourself, for your loved ones, for this ministry, for our world, for our planet, knowing oneness, knowing wholeness, knowing love. And we pray in the name and the power and the authority of the living Christ presence. Take another deep breath in. And so it is. And so we let it be. Amen.
Wow, I'm just, this is a lot of memories running through my mind, and didn't sleep all last night just thinking about all the times we had. I was sharing with someone after the first service that popped into my head just now. I remember having a conversation with one of the board members, and I said, we have more people here on Saturday helping us beautify our church than we do on Sunday morning. And I for the life of me, I can never figure, but everybody must have been having a good time, painting and cleaning. And I remember I came in on 441 on I was here the Saturday before my first Sunday, so it would have been the last Saturday in June of '87, and I came down 441, and I passed the McDonald's, and my daughter Danielle was with me, who now is a mother of two and in her 40s, and both her kids are here in Florida. One's at University of Central Florida, and my grandson just graduated from flight school. He's a commercial pilot in Daytona, so they're both here still, and saw him yesterday. We were coming in, and Danielle goes, "Hey, there's Pope Road. Turn, Dad, quick!" Because I was going to go up to there. And it was like, so I thought, well, I'm going to come in. I said to Aliza, we were up at Silver Springs last night, spent a night. I said, let's take the old route in, the way I came in. And I figured, it's a little slower drive, 2 hours and a half. There's lights everywhere now, and there's this thing called the village. And there's people and activity and things have changed. But I recognize all of you that were here. Show of hands for people. All the people who were here back in those days. Just stand so I can make sure I can see you. Would you just stand if you're around back in those crazy days? Thank you for being here. Bob's done a great job keeping you here. Thank you so much for being a part of my life. Thank you so much. And so here we are, and your church looks a whole lot nicer than I remember. I've been here since you remodeled, but back in those days, it was like, I remember saying to God, oh, why here, Lord? Because it was pretty interesting. There was a crack house next door. Bob's taking care of taking out the rest of those houses. I so wanted that house gone. We finally tore it down, and I so wanted the house on the corner because wouldn't it be nice to have a sign out there? And so, and the process begins. But it was quite a journey. I thank you for all the memories. It was a great place to come right out of ministerial school. I didn't know much, but you didn't need to know much in those days. It was simpler, wasn't it? Bob and I were talking. It was just simple. You did a good Sunday talk as best you could, and did a class on Wednesdays, have an AA meeting, an NA meeting, and if you want a big event, some special event, you just run a little ad in the paper, and everybody came. Now it's different. Social media, church is totally different. And so you put me in a great place. I learned community from you guys, how to be in relationship, and how important it is for a church to be in community. And as we continue to fix up the old barn and get things, I used to sit in the office, which was over here, Bob, and I would hear the cars come, and I'd hear them slow down, then speed away. And I'd hear them slow down, then speed away. And I'd say, before we do anything on the inside, let's see what we can do to the outside of this place. Because it had a cardboard sign out front, jammed into the old church blocks. I mean, you had to have been there. Many of you were. But I said, let's start with the outside. So we started our landscaping, and we came up with those 3 palm trees that were planted out front. That's where that logo came from. And we just started. People started showing up. We had a pretty good time. And, and here we are today. It's like I'm 70 years old. It's like, you got to be kidding me. 70 years old. And you guys look, your complexions and everything look great. I got more road maps than Tommy Lee Jones going on. And then I ran into Nancy, and she reminded me of a connection that we had. Talk about a small world. Nancy, in her first teaching position, was in the little town I grew up in, Sumner, Washington. And she was there in about 1950 something to 57, so probably 53 to 56-ish in that area. And she lived right across the street from my grandmother and my 2 aunts that lived there. And is in the same town that I grew up in, and taught in the high school that I eventually went to. It's just crazy. Isn't it great? Life is just great, isn't it? And today we're talking about, how do we stay in that great state, in that peaceful place when there's so much stuff going on? It feels a little chaotic in our political system in the world. And how do we stay in that peaceful place? Because it doesn't really matter, what's going on out there. It's like, where are you at with it here? How do you stay in that place? And a lot of times what we do is we go to what worked before, and it makes sense. If it worked before to bring us back to the truth of who we are, our experiences we have, we want to share those experiences with our family and friends. So I'll tell you a story about a gentleman, a Jewish father who had an experience because his father cared enough about him when he graduated from college to send him to the Holy Land to deepen his faith in the Jewish religion. And when he went as a young man and came back, his life was never the same, transformed. Well, now he's, gotten older, and he has a son graduating from college. I know what? I'm going to gift my son the same gift that my father gifted me. And he was so excited. He had a smile. The whole time his son was there in the Holy Land, deepened in his faith, he had a smile on his face, a song in his heart, and a twinkle in his eye. He was so excited because he knew, I could see myself smiling too. He knew when he could see his son coming off the plane. illumined like he was. Kind of that look that Charlton Heston had when he came off the mountain carrying the tablets. You know, he'd been up to the mountain. Oh, man, he had that glow. So his dad's at the airport. He's arrived. He's coming off the plane, and he had that look that we're talking about. And his dad held him for the longest time and began to cry. And he held him so tight. And on the way home, he said, I knew it would make a difference for you like it did for me, to bring you that heartfelt, peaceful place in your life, that you could deepen your spirituality so you could deal with life no matter what shows up in your life. And he said, Dad, it's true, but I got to talk to you about something that happened to me while I was there. What's that, son? He takes a deep breath. His dad's driving, so he's not looking at his son. He said that while I was there, I was converted to Christianity. So he goes, oy vey, kind of like Sanford and Son. He does this little number, and he didn't know what to do with it. Got real quiet. And he couldn't believe it. So he drops his son off at his house. He comes home, goes to the neighbor's house, beating on the door. Leo's his neighbor, Jewish friend, beating on the door. And he tells Leo his story. And Leo says, you've got to be kidding me. I can't believe you're telling me this. I, too, sent my son to Israel. He came back converted to Christianity. Now they're both kind of doing what they do, whining. So they get in their car, they drive down to the synagogue, bang on the rabbi's door, midnight, and tell him the story. And the rabbi looks at him and says, I can't believe you're telling me this. I, too, sent my son to Israel for the same reason, came back converted to Christianity. Well, they're just like wailing on the wall, the three of them, outside, and all of a sudden the skies begin to rumble and crack and lightning, and a voice boomed down from the heavens and said, I can't believe you're telling me this. I, too, sent my son to the Holy Land. He came back converted to Christianity. It happens. So, I like that story a lot. It might have worked for you, but you got to kind of be open to if it's working for them. You know, you share your experiences. When we have our children, we want their lives to be perfect. We want them to not have to go through what some of the mistakes and things that we did, but they're going to live their lives. The most important thing for you to do and me to do, now that I'm a grandpa. Most of the time people call me grandpa because we're around our grandkids. We have 16 grandchildren. One was just born a year ago. But they call you, what we want to do is we want to teach those kids the best we can. And the way to do that is to stay in that space of the truth that we know will set us free, and that space of peace and understanding and love. And the neatest thing about being a grandparent is, your job is to what? Love them. Accept them for who they are. And so when you become a grandparent, it seems like that's part of your job description. It seems so easy to do to grandkids, loving on them babies. We got 11 of them from the age of 10 down, and then to have older kids. We love those grandbabies. It's so easy. And yet sometimes dealing with neighbors or that aunt that comes to Thanksgiving dinner every year, do you know what I'm saying? Dealing with family members. But the gift that we can bring is to stay in that space of peace and understanding. Beyond any distraction. I mean, life happens. Hey, you want to be distracted? Go on a first time ever pulling a trailer across country when you've never done it before. You want to see some interesting drivers, and it's we're getting better at it. We're not good enough, and we thought, is our relationship strong enough that we could try backing it up? Not yet. But when the time comes, and we feel confident, we're going to actually try to back it up. The key to that is I pretend my car doesn't have a reverse. So if there's any chance I got to back that trailer up, I get out, park it, and I walk around and make sure I got an exit route, because we're not backing that baby up. But we will one day. But tonight, praise, in the dark, let us pray. Let us pray. We're going to back that trailer up in Jupiter, Florida tonight in the dark, and all's going to be well. Peace that passes all understanding. And Mark, the 4th chapter, the 39th verse, you know the story where Jesus is fallen asleep because he can be peaceful in the midst of any situation because he was the Christ as we are, but he mastered it. And so he says to the ocean, remember he says, peace be still, or silence be still, peace be still. And then the next thing he turns to his disciples and says, why are you so afraid all the time? Because he wasn't coming from that place. He was coming from a place of knowing that the universe is rigged, but it's, guess what? It's rigged in your favor. It's there to support you. All you have to do is send out the right vibe and be in the right consciousness. But whatever's occurring in your life that would distract your peace, and things happen. You know, I have one of my best friends that's trying to get a lung transplant, and it's just difficult because his health has gotten so bad. He's got interstitial lung disease, which is a terminal disease. And he tried to get the lungs, and they turned him down, and so he's still trying. And that stuff can take away your peace of mind for his family and for me. I've loved John my whole life. And so stuff shows up, but the best I can do for John is to know the truth for him, that he's a beautiful, radiant child of God. And the way I can know that for him is for me to get in touch with that Christ light within me, and to center myself, to know that God is my source. God as our source of our health, our vitality, our energy, all the things we're looking for, we turn to the presence and the power that we call God. And when we tap into that, we can meet these difficult challenges. We have loved ones passing, we have a health challenge, we have all these things that occur on the planet just to kind of keep us grounded, if you will, but to also keep us aware of the fact that all we have to do is turn to something greater than ourselves. And to be the observers of... a friend of mine said the next book I write, and I'm going to steal his title if I get to it first, is called It Seemed Like a Good Idea at the Time. And you look back on your life and some of the things where you were, and you go, well, how in the world would I have ever done that? And what was I thinking? It seemed like a good idea at the time. And we evolve and we grow. So it's important for us to do our work on self-observation. And the word that really has changed my life is just make things a notice. You don't, in other words, don't embody every feeling that somebody's throwing at you. How many of you have a tough time talking about separating? Some of you are a little codependent. Come on. Yeah, and so it's like, but if you can make everything in your life, good, bad, and different, a notice, because then you can make decisions on what you want to grab onto, what you want to work, what you want to be with. Because if you're not observing yourself and getting in touch with your emotional nature, you're missing the opportunities that are given to you to rise above it, to be a better self, and to rise. So it's important for you to observe yourself. You want to be in a peaceful state, you have to notice when you're not. And and then make that choice. I'm noticing I'm being goofy again. My wife looked at me and she said, you can get goofy. And then I make choices around if I want to attach to that or where I want to be with it. And it's so easy to do as a grandparent with the grandkids. It's a walk in the park. It's so easy to be at Unity Village working in the prayer room to pray for if someone calls needing prayer help. And all of us ministers have had to be in the prayer room or wanted to be in the prayer room. And it's so easy to pray for other people, to see the light for you. And sometimes it's difficult for us to see him in ourselves. So it's very important for us to look at self-observation, if you will. So I would encourage you to do that. Connect with the source, self-observation. And I'm looking at the clock, and my wife's giving me the same look. You're just supposed to just kind of be up there just to say hi. Three guys, been buddies forever, and they're out on the ocean. And every year they take a fishing trip in a small boat in the Gulf of Mexico, and they go out, and every year they go out too far. Have you ever been out on a big fishing boat and seen these morons out there, excuse my French, out there in these little boats thinking, what the heck are they thinking? And they're way out to sea. Well, this particular case, they're out there fishing, carrying on, having a great time, and they happen to look down a ways out and they see this over the horizon. There's a 100-foot tidal wave coming from a tsunami, and it's headed right at them. What would you do? You can't row out of the way. You can't run your motor fast enough. What would you do? You think, well, I'll pray. And that's what came to their minds. I'm going to pray. That makes sense. You pray for peace of mind. You pray for things you want. You make that personal connection with the God of your understanding. And here is these three guys. Nobody knows how to pray because they're not churchgoers. They're not spiritual people. One guy says, you know what? I live next door to a church in my town of Sumner. I live next door to that little Catholic church in Sumner. I know how to do that. He said, I think I can remember. Every Saturday night they would pray so loud. I think I can pull it up. Well, let's get busy. So he said, let's take the position. So down you go in the boat, and they're trembling because the thing is coming. And he said, well, let's pray. Well, okay, who knows? I don't know. Well, what did they do at the church in Sumner, at the Catholic church that you heard so loud? He said, okay, I think I can pull it up. And he began to pray. B5, I16, N37, bingo. That's the only thing he heard from the church was Saturday night bingo. Whatever your prayer is, whatever your prayers are, and let them be bingo, whatever it is, just make an effort to notice where you are, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, so you can bring peace into any chaos situation that you're currently in. That's what I would encourage you to do this day. Peace in the midst of chaos. God bless you.
And Aliza in the midst of Rob. I like that line, kind of like Bob saying he knew us both before we were a both. I just think that's great. So can you find peace in the midst of chaos? Is it even possible? And my answer to that is yes, if you're willing to give up something else. That's where I ended the last talk at 9 o'clock or whatever time that was. That's where we ended. Bob's tracking me. He goes, wait, that's where you ended. Well, I'm going to get my whole talk in. It might take 3 weeks. Here's the deal. When we look at the idea of peace, we typically look at the idea of peace out there. When something out there, when that tidal wave disappears, I will feel peace. When my son comes home from Israel, I will feel peace. When my X, Y, and Z does A, B, and C, then I will feel at peace. Are you tracking me? Right? We all know, we've all had the experience of when somebody does something different, I'll be better. Some of us call that codependency. Some of us call that humanity. But peace is not out there. Peace is not out there. When Jesus stood up in that boat and said, peace be still, those disciples were having a meltdown. They were like crazy with fear. We are about to die here. And then he turns to them. What'd he say? Why are you so filled? Why are you always so fearful? Peace doesn't come after the storm quiets. Peace, true peace, is what you can access in the midst of the storm. You've heard of the eye of the hurricane, right? Well, we're in hurricane country, kind of, sort of, at least compared to Arizona, right? You know the eye of the storm. The middle is the peace. It's not the absence. We think about peace. It's not the absence of war, but when we find peace, war will no longer be. So when we think about peace, if we can find it within, if we can land into a place in the center of our being, and the way you do that is to find God, to find your own source, to find that spirit within. You align your body, mind, heart, soul, spirit, and most of all, frequency, vibration with that which is greater than you. Now, this afternoon, I'm going to do a workshop right here at about 12:30 or thereabouts, and I'm going to give you 3 key principles to peace. But for now, and I'm going to give you an experience, a tool, a practice that you can use beginning today, that you can fall into peace at any moment, in any situation, at any time. And the practice of that will give you the experience of living in a world of peace. But I have a question for you. Take a breath. I could feel the tension. Like, oh no! Take a breath. I have a question for you. Would it be all right with you if life got easier? Okay, now I want you to feel that question. Would it be all right with you if life got easier? Take a breath, exhale. The first book that I wrote, which came out a few years ago, is called Falling into Ease, and it's based around that question, would it be all right with you if life got easier? Because the truth is, and I write about it in this book, is that when you fall into that place of ease, you're actually falling out of the state of consciousness of the noise or the chaos or the stress or the overwhelm that lives between our ears, right? Because it's out there, but it's also within here. So when you can drop beneath that, you can land in that place of stillness. The book that I'm talking about today and this afternoon, the Paradox of Awakening book, is Finding Peace in a World of Chaos. And it is really a practice. Let me say it that way. It's a practice, but it's a practice of the principles. But what we're being called to do now with our principles, many of you have been here a long time. I know that because some of you stood up, and Rob was here like a long time ago. But we know the principles. We know these spiritual principles. But what we're being called to do on the planet right now is to, my word, quantum-fy. To use the quantum field, to use the quantum experience, to take the principles that we know and embody them in a different way. To embody them in such a way that they're integrated through every aspect of your life. That they're integrated when you turn on the news, or you look at the stock market, or you get the diagnosis, or your friend gets the diagnosis. When life happens to you, do you react, or do you have enough of the principles embodied that you can simply respond? To respond. So finding peace in the chaos is eliminating the excess stress, dissolving the overwhelm, and finding clarity in your own being, that you are one with all that is, that you are so much greater than whatever's showing up out there. Because whatever's showing up out there will continue to show up. Now, some things might shift and change, but the truth is, our world is likely not going to change this week. Maybe this year, maybe this decade, maybe this century, we're always going to have this stuff coming at us. But when we quantify the principles, when we embody the truth that peace is within, when you find that place within you and you develop it and you nurture it and you build new habits and patterns and neural pathways that give you peace as a foundation of your being, then you're able to navigate all that life gives with much greater ease. With much greater ease. So then when I ask the question, and I've asked this question all over the country, would it be all right with you if life got easier? You go, yeah, I know how to do that. And you can drop into that place. You can find peace no matter what's going on out there, no matter what's coming at you, because you know the truth, that you are a divine being. And that our work on this planet is to come to know a deeper sense of love, a deeper connection with spirit, and a deeper expression of love and light and kindness and wholeness. I have some slides, but I forgot how to use them today this morning, but one of them is the Dalai Lama, and it basically says, my religion is kindness. If we knew peace in the center of our being, if we knew, oh, look at that, magic, thank you. Thank you. If we knew how, and I'm going to tell you how this afternoon, so come back. If you knew how in an instant that you could pivot back into peace, you could pivot back into kindness, you could pivot back into knowing your wholeness and your oneness with yourself and with all that is and with every other person on this planet, I promise you, your world will change. When we quantify the principles, when we embody them, we change our level of consciousness from wherever we are to a higher perspective. When you're in that higher perspective, when you come up, when you reach the mountaintop, when you head up the mountain of your vibration and your frequency of your consciousness, of your awakeness, waking up again and again and again. Some days we have to wake up every 20 seconds. Sometimes we can go a whole week, right? Or maybe a decade. When we wake up as a humanity, our world will change. It's science. It's spirit, it is happening now, but it takes all of us. So, do you really want to find peace in your chaos? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's enough. But you have to give something up. That's where I started. What you have to give up is being a victim. What you have to give up is whining. Now, I'm not talking about whining. What you have to give up is your stories about how bad it is out there and how wrong they are, because it's never, ever, ever out there. It's right here, right now. And when you give up being a victim to the world that you live in, and you become a co-creator, you can be the peace that the world is waiting for. You are the ones, we are the ones to change our planet with love, with wholeness, with kindness, and with compassion. I am a stand for peace, no matter what's happening. Don't always live it 100% yet, but I'm a stand for peace, no matter what's happening, even when we're backing up that trailer tonight. Anybody want to come to Jupiter and back the trailer up for us? I'm a stand for peace, for an awakened world, for a world that works for all people. Are you with me? Yes. Then come to the workshop this afternoon. Keep coming to this church. Keep listening to Bob, and keep practicing these principles in a way that gets them out of your head, into your body, embodied and integrated, and into your life and into this world. I am a stand for peace. Together, I am a stand for peace. And now, like you mean it, I am a stand for peace. And so it is, and so we let it be. God bless you.